is Mike Gelin. I am City Commissioner here in the City of Tamarack, and I'm also President of the Gelin Benefits Group, which is an insurance advisory, brokerage, and employee benefits consulting firm. So we help clients, which include municipalities and private sector groups, working with their HR department to help them design, select, and implement their group health insurance programs, which include their medical, dental, life, and disability insurance. We help them develop strategies to lower the cost of insurance, improve the health of their population, and offer a competitive benefits package. As City Commissioner, I represent about 60,000 citizens citywide, and we implement policies and procedures to make sure we have a safe, resilient, and prosperous city. So I enjoy both my jobs and look forward to being on this show.
Okay, awesome. So did you always know that you would be in the industry?
So I always knew that had a desire to be a elected official. Was never really sure of what capacity, and I always knew I wanted to be in business, but never really sure what kind of business. I wanted to be in real estate, but I ended up getting an internship in college. That was my first exposure to corporate America. Took a job at Enron in Houston, so that was my first exposure in the energy industry. But while in college, I interviewed at an insurance brokerage firm.
Okay.
And so I enjoyed that. And after Enron collapsed, I went back into the insurance field, and I've been there ever since. So about 15 years in the industry.
Okay. So you mentioned you mentioned internships,
Yes.
and I always stress to my clients
Yes.
and the young professionals that follow me is that it is so important to have internships
Yes.
because it does change the trajectory of your career path.
Yes.
Talk a little bit more about your internship
Okay.
and how it helped you get to where you are.
Yeah, most definitely. So first, in order to get an internship, you must have good grades because companies want to invest in students that they believe will be successful in the long term. So I always try to make sure I maintain a 3.0 GPA and above. And for me, I participated in a program called Inroads, which was a business internship program, and they provided training to students on how to eat at a dinner table, how to understand all the place settings that are in front of you, which I didn't unfortunately have that kind of home training. They taught me how to network. They taught me all the different things you need to know in business. And then we had mock interviews, so they prepared us for the interview process, and then we had actual interviews. And one of the things that they told us, they set up a conference room with a bunch of different vendors,
Okay.
and they said, for the first 3 or 4 interviews, go to companies that you for sure know you don't want to
To get the
internship with.
practice.
Get your practice on, and then when you find a company you do want to interview with, you will have already gone through 3 or
Ready.
4, and you feel more comfortable, and that's what I did. And having those internships on my resume, I interned for 2 out of my 3 years in college. It really put me on a stronger path than other students that did not have internship experience. And I had part-time work experience because I worked while I was in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what formal education do you have? I know you mentioned college. Which college?
Yeah,
did
so I
you
went to Morse Brown College in Atlanta, a historically black college. Initially, I went to Broward College, so I didn't do well in high school.
Okay.
I was a poor student, as a matter of fact, and not because I applied myself and didn't do well, I understand, because I played around, didn't apply myself, and I earned the grade, which was a bad grade. So in order to go to a better college, I went to Broward College, improved my GPA, and then went to Morse Brown College. And so I actually didn't start college until 21,
Okay.
22 actually. Yeah, I started college at 22. So I worked, I messed around, I wasn't really serious, and went to Atlanta Metropolitan College as well, another community college. And then I finally got my act together and went to Morse Brown College, went for 4 years straight. And I actually started off late and graduated at 26.
And I think that is so important what you just said
Yeah.
about even though your beginnings were a struggle,
Right,
look at you now.
exactly.
So it all goes to show that with dedication and hard work, you can do anything and be
Yes.
anything that you would like to be.
That's right, and focus.
Yes, and focus. So was your decision to become a politician or a broker influenced by anyone?
Yes. So my parents indirectly influenced me to be involved in politics only because they were always watching the news and, There was only like one TV in the house, so you had to watch the news or watch whatever they were watching. And then my parents are from Haiti, so they came from a country that was unstable politically, and they always talked about their appreciation for living in a democracy. And I always understood the power of being a government official from their experiences. So they indirectly influenced me from in terms of being an insurance broker. No one really influenced me. I just had the internship experience, which made me want to be an insurance broker because it just seemed like a fun job. Because we were going out to lunches and to dinner, and they were entertaining clients on the company budget. And I was like, wow, we get all these nice meals and we don't pay for it personally. I mean, my internship, there was one week, I went to lunch every week at great restaurants, and I was like, this is a fun job. And so it was a sales aspect to the job that was a fun type of sales and not a car type of sales. And I enjoy serving people, so we're serving clients, giving them something that they need in insurance, and so it seemed like a good fit for me.
Okay, so it's not every day that we get to hear about a journey of someone becoming a commissioner or an insurance broker.
Yeah.
I know it's two different career paths, but can you walk me through your journey for both?
Yeah. So being a commissioner started out with failure because 4 years ago I ran for mayor of the city of Tamarack. I actually wanted to run for commissioner, but it didn't make sense because there was another black male running for commissioner, and we were both going against a white female. And unfortunately, with politics, race and demographics and gender play a role. And so if it's a male against a female, most likely the woman would win because women vote at higher numbers than men. If you have two black males in a race, you're going to split the black vote. And so I jumped out of that race and went into the mayor's race, knowing that I didn't have the funding required to win or even the volunteer base. But I'm a big believer of, you're never going to know if you're going to fail or win unless you try.
Absolutely.
So even though I was a long shot, I tried, I worked hard, I went door to door, I walked as many communities as possible in the time frame that I had, and I did pretty good. Even though I lost, I got 6,000 votes. I came closer than anyone ever expected, and it laid the groundwork for me to run for city commission this time. And this time around, I ran against two white males, and they ended up splitting their vote. But because I laid the groundwork 4 years ago, a lot of people remember me. They remember voting for me, and they voted for me again. And so it was a great experience, and it was another example of, even though you failed, you won. There were some wins in that failure.
Because you learned.
You learned, and in this particular case, there were people who supported me before, and they supported me again. They remember me, and so I didn't even work as hard as I worked the first time. And I achieved great success, winning 66% of the vote. So that was a great experience. In terms of the path of becoming an insurance broker, I didn't know anybody in insurance. I kind of fell into it through the internship program, which is why doing the internship is so important. But I ended up liking it, and I've been in it ever since. And it's gonna lead to me doing other things because I still want to do real estate. As I have more success in this field, I'll be able to take some of that success in terms of dollars and invest it in real estate. And so I always tell people, you may have one or two career choices, but be prepared to be involved in multiple careers.
Absolutely. What challenges did you face along the way?
A lot, and I mentioned it. So, in high school, I wasn't focused and didn't do well. And so because I wasn't focused in high school, I had to take remedial courses in college. So I'm paying for courses and for things that I should have mastered in high school. And then whereas other students did well in algebra and geometry, I struggled because I didn't focus on it when I was in high school.
I took college algebra 3 times
Wow.
in college before I actually
Yeah.
got it.
So, those were struggles and challenges and stuff that you have to pay for as a college student. As a politician, I failed in running the first time, and it hurts when you try and you fail.
Right.
And how people treat you a certain way when you don't win. But as an insurance broker and in college, having my failures, and then when I started working, I got fired from a few jobs because because my attitude, because of cultural differences, people not understanding my reaction to things, as a black male. So I had to understand that as a black male, I have to tone down my natural reactions to make other people feel comfortable. And that's part of what led me to start my own business.
Okay.
You know, working with several corporations and dealing with the same types of drama everywhere just led me to believe that I needed to start my own business. And luckily for me, I had clients that were loyal to me and not my company or the company that I worked for. And so they were willing to help me start my business as my first few clients. So challenges were tough, a lot of failures, a lot of heartbreak, but you know, just having the perseverance to keep moving on.
Okay. So along with challenges, everyone needs a cheerleader.
Yes.
Who is your biggest cheerleader?
So my biggest cheerleaders initially was my mom, and now my wife. You know, always being supportive and always being challenging when needing to be. So, you know, you don't need someone to pat you on the back even when you do something wrong. You need someone to challenge when you're doing something wrong, challenge your ideas, and make sure you think about your decisions and make sure you make the right decision. I've also got, you know, brothers who've been my cheerleaders. I have 4 brothers and a sister.
Okay.
And so family has been good cheerleaders for me. And I had a doctor who became my unofficial mentor.
Okay.
So I went to get my physical before I started college, and he knew I was working, and I told him I was working 30 hours a week, and he's like, so when are you going to study? I was like, I don't know, I'll figure it out. And before I left the room, he told me to write down my work schedule. I did. He told me to write down my studies, my school schedule. I did. Then he said, okay, now write down your study schedule. Plug in the times you're going to study. And I realized, you know, I didn't have much time to study, and so I really needed to focus on when I was going to study, and that helped me throughout my 4 years. And I did that each of my 4 years. I had my work schedule, my school schedule, and my study schedule. You have to schedule time to study. Just like basketball players, football players, any athletes, there's a practice schedule.
Right.
So you know you have to eat a certain time. You have to mentally prepare for your practice. And the same thing with studying. You have to mentally prepare and dedicate that time only to studying.
Okay. Very insightful information.
Thank you.
My followers would kill me if I did not ask.
Yes.
Is the salary what you expected it would be for as a broker and a commissioner, without getting too deep in your pockets?
Well, I'll say what the numbers are. So,
Okay.
as a commissioner, it's considered a part-time job, even though it's a full-time job. It requires a lot of hours on the weekends, hours after work, and some daytime hours. All the commissioners here get a set salary of about $34,800. There's some other perks that come with that, and the mayor gets, I believe, $40,000. So not much.
Wait.
Yes.
$40,000 to be a mayor.
Correct.
Wow. So it's somewhat of a volunteer position.
It is.
Because $40,000 is not enough.
Correct.
To be responsible for an entire city.
Correct. And there are some cities that are starting to make some changes. So Fort Lauderdale just completed a study, and they're going to try to tie the salaries to the median income of Broward County,
Okay.
which is about $60,000 to $65,000.
Okay.
So if other cities follow suit, then we'll be paid more in line with the level of work that we're doing.
Okay.
My first job out of college, I worked at Enron. Everyone got paid $40,000. Ended up getting laid off, and I was unemployed for about 10 months. So that was another challenge I had to face. You do all the right things, you go to college, you graduate, you got good grades, you got a great job, wrong company, unemployed in the middle of a recession in 2001, unemployed for 10 months, going from making $40,000 a year to getting $200 a week in unemployment checks just wasn't good enough. And then the job I took after that, I was so desperate and my unemployment was about to run out. I took a job making about $34,000. So I took a $6,000 pay cut. Then I ended up getting a job in Tampa at a company called Aon, back in the insurance industry.
Okay.
I think I made 40 or 44. And so that was okay for Tampa. And then I kept bouncing around to try to find the right opportunity and the right income. And so I went from Aon to Mercer, and I want to say it went to 48.
Okay.
Then I got a big jump. So I was underpaid at the 48, but I didn't know.
Okay.
And so another lesson is negotiating a salary
Yes.
and not
Do your
taking,
research.
do your research, negotiate your salary. Don't take the offer that's given. Do your research on the internet, do Google search. There's so many tools out there that wasn't there before. But even back then there were tools, and then you have to be confident enough to ask for what you deserve. Understand that if you made 40,000 4 years ago, you should add a 3% escalation in each of those 4 years. And really, you should do a budget of all your expenses, figure out what your required salary income is to meet your expenses, which should include savings, retirement savings, and general savings, and come up with a number and negotiate with that number. And you have to know what the salary range is. And don't be afraid to ask, what is the salary range
Correct.
for this position?
Glassdoor is a great reference.
Glassdoor is a great reference. And that wasn't there back then. And so I actually ended up going from like 48,000 and leaving to go up to 75.
Okay.
So that was a huge jump for me, a big jump. At my last job, I was a VP. I made 120. That was another great salary. And I left that salary to start my business. And the first year of my business, I made 120 in revenue, but a lot less.
The overhead.
All the overhead, you don't realize the expenses. And so you just always have to understand what your value is and increase your value. So over time, throughout my career, I kept getting continuing education. So in my profession, I got the Certified Employee Benefit Specialist designation, a Group Benefits Associate designation, and some other designations. So always continuous education to show value. So even after you graduate college, you have to continue to learn
Absolutely.
and improve your skills and demonstrate why you deserve more money than the next person that's applying for the same job.
Absolutely. You're dropping a lot of good nuggets.
Thank you.
So we're wrapping up. If someone wanted to become a politician, a commissioner, a mayor, or a broker, what words of advice would you give them that you wish somebody would have given you when you started your journey?
Okay, so I'll start with the politician first. So if you want to be a local elected official, the first thing you need to do is get involved in your community. And some people say that and they leave that statement blank. So I want to define what that is. So getting involved means volunteering at whatever's going on locally in your community. Serving on a local board in your city. So there's the planning board, there's the public art committee, there's all kind of boards if you check on your city's website where you can volunteer. Meet with your local elected officials. Get to know them personally, meet them at your office, tell them that in the future you want to run for office without challenging them directly and ask them for their advice. Get involved in local nonprofits outside of your community because you don't want to just show that you're only in your community. You want to have a broad base. So you want to do that. You want to help out in other campaigns. So you see how other campaigns are run. You want to go on the public city website and download campaign reports and see how much money was raised or is required to be raised to have a successful campaign. Build a base of supporters, which starts with your family, your friends, and then other people that have interest in your city. And then run for office, which is simply filing simple paperwork on the Supervisor of Elections website, at your city website, meet with your city clerk, and then just knock on doors and ask for the vote. You'd be amazed that people will just vote for you just because you came to their door. That's it. And understand, watch your city commission meetings, understand what's going on, ask questions if you don't understand, and just get involved that way. To become an insurance broker, I would say a little bit of the same thing. Just understand what insurance is. It's required that you have your insurance license. Not a very hard test to pass, 70 is passing. So there's different types of insurance. So I do employee benefits insurance. There's property and casualty insurance, which includes workers' compensation, directors and officers liability insurance, property and casualty insurance. I don't really understand that side of insurance, but there's another license for that. But the great thing about insurance is it's required. Okay. You have to have it. So you want to be in a field where where there's a need. So an accounting degree, there's always going to be a need for accounting. But if you want to be in the insurance industry, understand who are the top insurance brokers in the field, and you can do a Google search for that. Who are the top insurance carriers? Go to the various websites and read the job descriptions from the different companies. And as you read the job description, see if it fits your skill set and see if it's something that you want to do and you enjoy doing. Find somebody at the company and just have an informal interview. Just say, hey, I'm thinking about becoming a claims adjuster or an insurance professional, and I want to sit down and understand what your job is. can I spend a day with you, a half a day, or an hour with you?
Yes.
And people will be willing to do that, to show you what they do and introduce you to other people. And so you just have to be open and direct and ask for what you're looking for. It's very important to make the ask.
Yes, I didn't want to cut you off, but
Yes.
I always stress how important informational interviews
That's
are.
right. That's right.
So see, I'm not crazy. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
From an actual commissioner
That's
and
right.
a broker, you have to ask for those things, and you will be so surprised how willing people are to tell you more. Because people like talking about themselves and talking about their accomplishments.
And most people want to help also.
Yes, they want to help. So just make sure you ask.
That's right.
Thank you so much for your
It's
time
been my pleasure.
with this story for the Summer Success Stories.